Well, good evening and welcome to the board meeting. I'll call this meeting to order. Will you please join us in the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item 1.03, approval of the agenda for possible action.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Teresa, seconded by Brian to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Chair votes aye and the agenda is adopted. Item 1.04, input from the public. This is a period devoted to comments by the general public, if any, and discussion of those comments. In the interest of privacy and due process, the public is requested to not raise personnel issues except in a legally noticed closed personnel session of the board. No action may be taken upon a matter raised. This is also a non-action item. Are there any comments from the public? All right, moving on. We'll go to agenda item 2.01, the superintendent's report. Dr. Robinson.
Good evening. Good evening. So I don't need to remind anyone that this has been an incredibly challenging school year with the uncertainty and the countless changes that have occurred. Sometimes right on a moment's notice, we sometimes don't get to hear about the amazing things that continue to happen in Elko County School District. At the last board meeting, we heard from Heather Steele, who is our Elko County District's CTE facilitator, and she talked about the incredible and award-winning CTE career technical educational programs that we have here in our district. That was exciting. Tonight, we're going to hear from 4 incredible professionals in our district who stretched themselves, as every educator in the district did, and developed a virtual STEM fair, and not letting the mandates or the restrictions keep them from this impressive opportunity that they provided for our children. So I'm going to introduce to you Miss Anita Collins, Miss Jennifer Anderson, Miss Alicia Moore, and Miss Sandy Broadstetter. There they are. Calling them our Elko County STEAM Fair Dream Team. And they're here tonight to tell us a little bit about the program. So, yep.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for inviting us and having us come and talk to you. First of all, I like last year's book that tells all about the Elko County STEM Fair last year. And of course, that was a live physical fair. And this year, can you use this computer and show us our STEM fair? Yeah. Okay, let's see. If I can figure this out here. The STEM fair, everybody had to register online, and these are our projects this year. So I kind of wanted to just show you guys a little bit about some of the projects. Okay, so we'll just take this one for instance. This is a this is a technology project. You can see the project number here. And if you click on the form, then this, okay, I'm just gonna do it. Oh, that's right. It's still, I've done this enough times. You think I'd remember, right? Okay, so you can just see that here's our rubric, and they can go through the rubric, and you can then, that's how the judges are judging. So it's everyone has something that is linked there. Let's just go to some of the higher level ones here. You can click on the project itself and go through all of the whole entire presentation with that the kids have done with the project. And it's quite phenomenal. So you can see a lot of data. I'll just keep going here, and there's your graphs. And then their references. Like some of these have some videos in them. You know what? I know which one. Here's a good one that has a video in it, and you can see here that what they've done with the video. Now, I'm not going to necessarily play all this video, but they can incorporate the video so that you can actually see what the STEM fair with the project, them doing it. And it's awesome. So we've been able to do that on here. Here's our site, one of the pages that tells us all about the past winners. So we'll have this is where our presentation is going to be for the instead of award ceremony, because we can't do that at the convention center anymore. The award ceremony is going to be online in a presentation. So it'll be similar to this. We've had our poster contest winners for the past. This is this year's poster contest winners. And it goes back to way back when. And then of course there's a judges page so that the judges can get on and see if they can register. And all of our judges are doing it all online this year. And so far it's worked pretty good. Few little glitches, but for our first year virtual, not a bad run. So I just wanted to kind of show you that on here, that what we're doing virtually this year. And we've had to basically revamp everything that we've done physically into something that we can do virtual. Lots of brain power, lots of time and energy, but you know what? It happened. So it's doable. So.
And the judging is in process right now, and the judging will end at 8 o'clock tonight, and then we'll start working on the presentations for the winners, so that they'll be available to the public by Friday. So
Yeah.
Friday, you can look on it, we'll have a winners page, and you'll be able to see the first, second, third honorable mention prize winners, as well as the grand prize winners. That's kind of the biggest thing that people want to look at first.
If you go to ECSD and just to our district page, you can get to it down here on the left-hand side. It says STEM right there. You can get to the website that way too. You just go on to the district page.
So go take a look.
So yeah, go take a look.
Yeah, and actually going virtual, we found a lot of things that we like about it, like the judging forum being all virtual. Those that can handle that, you know, we're going to use that technology in the future just to streamline things. So making us step out of our boxes helped us step into a new one. But I'm here to talk about the posters, and here are the poster winners. So we started off with the first one over here. This is K through 3 division. This is a second grader, beautiful watercolor that they've done. And then the next grouping would be over here. It would be the flag one, and that one is a 6th grader. And that one is from Flag View. The other one over there was from Mountain View. And then we have 7th grade. Okay.
Middle school.
So the one with the red border, the red matting, is our 7th grade winner, and from Adobe. And then the 2 other ones, we have the digital. So we have a digital category for high school, and also classic art or drawing, painting, whatever from high school. And these are our 2 winners from that. They are well known in the STEM fair, do an excellent job, and hopefully we'll get some more recruitments because they're seniors. So put the word out.
For the past couple of years, so they're good.
Normally, these posters, the framed art is done by Picture This, and she did it again this year as well. But they are displayed all throughout the STEM fair. Now this year that's not happening, we still want this beautiful artwork to be displayed. And, for Picture This and also for the kids' artwork. So what we have, these guys have graciously donated a wall that the posters will be up here for a month. And then they will be displayed at the designated schools for at least a month after that, and possibly till the end of the year. And then the winners will be able to take those home along with the cash prize. Okay, I think that's it.
Yeah, and I
Actually,
just
Jen,
wanted to take a moment to publicly thank our community. We run on donations from the community as well as Elko County School District. They provide our subs, they provide so many things for us, but we have businesses and individuals that have continually donated their money every year to help us provide the cash awards, the ribbons, whatever we need to run the fair. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's listening and to those that aren't, but that's okay because we still give them a big thank you. So thank you for the board for letting us to keep continuing to do this. Hopefully we'll keep going for a couple more years, whole bunch more years. I don't know. So thank you very much. That is our.
Sandy,
Before you leave,
can
I
we
have-
ask? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, thank you very much for all the time I know that it takes to put in and accepting the challenge that we're all going through with the virtual approach to it. I'm glad that you didn't, and I think everybody is really glad that you didn't do that. So, and thank you for helping to decorate our walls. So,
They're gorgeous.
Mr. Zeisler.
Is ISEF, the International Science and Engineering Fair, are they doing the same format then? I know, yeah, because some of the projects were already starting to do some of the virtual stuff with tablets at their booths. So
unfortunately, you don't get to drive us anymore to LA. and
no,
it was
yeah.
great to-
yeah.
But, yeah, it helped us this year.
We're hoping next year that we can go back to physical because some of the tangible feeling, looking at things seem to be more encompassing. Looking at green all day kind of hurts your eyes. Makes our
I mean,
backs a little bit.
yeah, there's some advantages to digital, but there's definitely some advantages to seeing the real thing.
And well, I would just like to say, first of all, thank you for your efforts and all your hard work. And with the digital part, do you think that maybe in the future, if you do still manage to go in the physical world, are you going to have both? And on a follow-up question to that, are you seeing more traffic with the virtual world? Maybe is there more interactions or less?
We've had only about 20% of what we would normally have participation. So I mean, I guess that's a good thing for our first time doing it virtually. But we normally have over 450 projects. We had 150 projects this year.
Okay.
And, our physical fair kind of stems from the individual site fairs. So each school will have their site fair and we get the best from that. This year, pretty much, it was like whoever turned in a project got to come to the fair.
And do you think it's because people were scared that it'd be too much work to do it virtually?
I think this year's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's been more than overwhelming on a teacher's load. And, with having to change at the last minute to revamp your whole curriculum and get everything thrown up there and try and make contact with your kids. And you guys know how it is. But I just think it's just one more thing. But some of the kids pull through. And so, we're just kind of hoping that we can maybe incorporate the two. We're brainstorming, seeing how that's going to work. But with physical judges doing the technology, like we could have a space there with a computer or something if the kids decided to do it that way.
Okay.
As long as the judges can figure out how to run it. So,
Well, good job.
well, thank you. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you. You ladies your faces are familiar every year, and I just appreciate all the work you do all the time for our county and the STEM fair. So thank you.
So thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say too, because I'm a science nerd at heart.
Yay!
That's my background. And I just think it's amazing STEM is so important to get our kids excited about science. And so I just want to say thank you, all of you, because it's amazing that you put in this effort every year and get these projects are really, really good.
We feel the same way, so thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to just put a plug in one more time because I think they work so hard and they're very humble, but this was a tremendous lift to create this environment, to put the STEM fair into this environment. And you saw how easy she made it look just to get in there and do it.
Oh, it wasn't easy to create.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and you know, that's the sign of a true professional when they make it look easy. So that was a tremendous amount of work. And, you know, for the kids, you did it for the kids, and that's amazing. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So as mandates have allowed, we've started to bring children back, or not started, we have been actually bringing children back since the opening of the school year, and with the goal of going for full in person. And this week, that last part of it was realized as the last schools that were in the hybrid model welcomed very excitedly their children all full in person. So we are, for the most part of our district, we're full in person. Owyhee is requesting to remain in hybrid, and the rest of our communities are full in. So, you know, I talked about that there's a lot of details that had to be worked out. We're still working out kinks, and we just appreciate the patience, the grace, the resiliency of our community while we continue to work those last little kinks out. But I think all of that is so worth it when you see how excited kids are to be in the classrooms, and they were welcomed from our teachers and staff and administrators. We're also excited to have kids back and do what we do best. So again, we appreciate that you just stick with us as we continue to work out some details. Some of our challenges that we were confronted with was how to address the mandate that all students and staff relating to football receive a COVID test every week during that competition season. And I mentioned at the last board meeting that our public health officer, Dr. Putnam, was instrumental in coordinating with the county and the Elko County Ambulance Service, and then partnering with the West Wendover Ambulance Service to partner with us along with the county, which again was also instrumental in making these connections for us. They've been a wonderful partner for the school district, and we're appreciative. So that now all of our student athletes and again, staff relating to football can be tested every week. So it started last week. It was incredibly successful, and they've working out kinks. So that'll be happening every week from now until the end of the football season. And then, so it was a busy week. It was a busy, exciting week, and but very successful. And I think most important to all of us is that we've reached that goal of having the vast majority of our district full in person. So we continue to work in that direction.
How did we have any kinks with the transportation, having all the kids go back?
You know, there will be kinks with transportation because that's not fully full in person. That's they've increased the capacity to 66%, which has certainly helped us, but it does create challenges because we have a lot of students that we transport. And so we've had to change some schedules in order to be able to work that so that we can get our kids to school. And so, you know, there's always some, again, kinks to work out. We appreciate those families that are able to transport their children. And that's been very helpful. And we'll just continue to work with it. You know, it's like the first day of school in any school year. It takes a couple of weeks to work all those out. And so we're already seeing an improvement from yesterday, and we know we'll continue to see improvements going there. But our transportation department, you know, we tell them there's a new mandate, there's a new thing that we're trying to do, and their answer is always, we'll figure out how to make it work. You know, it is never anything but we'll make it work. And they really do extraordinary work to try to make that happen. So.
Dr. Robinson, are we looking at anything? I know one of the concerns I had heard were start times for some of the elementary schools and then Flagview, and some parents being able to jockey between dropping off their kids, picking them up, and the traffic issues now that we're seeing. Is that being addressed, or is that still in the works of trying to figure out those logistics?
Yeah, it's still trying to work out those logistics. Like I said, it takes a couple of weeks, even in a normal year, to be able to work those out. We, when we come across where this is a challenge, we come up with a solution. So it could very well look a little bit different and ease up on that challenge for people. It was instrumental though in being able to have enough buses to be able to get our kids to school. So it's kind of weighing those two pieces, but we're making progress. I don't know, Mr. Walls, if you had any update on how that went.
Like you mentioned, it's gotten better.
It makes it difficult.
Yep. Just in one day, it has gotten better. Actually, like the school that had buses, and I'm talking elementary, that had buses out at the latest yesterday. They were also the latest today, but it was 10 minutes difference today. So I mean, that's actually quite a bit of time when you're talking supervision. So it has gotten better, but I'm daily checking with all the principals to see how things are going, and we have some alternate plans that we may end up adjusting a little bit. But the staggering that Dr. Robinson was talking about that we created with the elementary schedules being as far different from the middle and high school schedules as they were, it actually provided 3 complete additional buses for the elementary runs. And I think, in my opinion, being the elementary guy, elementary busing was impacted more than middle and secondary because our capacity issues with the buses. The 66 came to 2 kids per seat. Well, middle and high school, we normally don't put more than 2 kids per seat no matter what. So it really didn't change much for their capacity. But elementary runs, we do put 3 kids a seat. So it did really impact the number of kids that we could fit on each of the elementary buses. But it's getting better day by day. Even though it continues to get better, doesn't mean that we may not change and may not adjust some schedules, but we're going to keep an eye on it. But yeah, it really did have an impact on our capacity to get all of the elementary kids there, and providing as many buses to do it as we could. So I don't know how clearly that kind of explains, but those are kind of the conversations I've been having with principals and the transportation department as we go. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
And then the other thing I was going to ask about, I had talked to some parents and coaches for the first athletic events this past weekend, and they said things were going fantastic. Parents were very respectful about the mask mandate and coming to the matches or games. And then their only concern was video connections. And I don't know if we're working on that to be able to see some of this. I know football you can see on that network, but I don't know if volleyball or any of the other sports will be able to view.
I know that's something that we're working on. Again, getting these details worked out as far as being able to broadcast. You're talking about the events, in particular, an indoor event that is there's less capacity for spectators to be in there.
So it depends on the school site of what their infrastructure is in place to transmit over the National Federation of High Schools website. Some schools already had that infrastructure in place, others did not. And as the year progressed, some schools just pushed harder to get it in place. Some schools are trying to utilize their own software to then push it out on the NFHS network. And that's where some of those issues are coming in. It's not a Wi-Fi, it's not a broadband issue or anything like that. It's an equipment issue and making sure they're compatible. Because the thing to understand is that the NIAA has an exclusive partnership with the National Federation of High Schools that the schools can only transmit over their through their site. So there's some issues there. We're hopefully getting that worked out.
Local radio able to transmit like they have in the past?
They should be, yes. I mean, as far as, radio. Now, as far as video, that's a little bit different. Any video, again, it's the sole realm of the NIA and NFHS.
Right. I have a question, Chris, before you leave, because I see that the NIAA put out new guidance today, moving the distance from 25 feet to 6 feet. So I assume that's going to make a huge difference as well for getting fans spread out in gyms, still at 6 feet, but
Yes.
a few more numbers in fitting in the gyms.
Ish, right? Because yes, they changed the distance where fans can be from competitors. However, the 100 spectator rule and the 33% capacity rule, we're still looking at how to figure out. But yeah, absolutely, what that should allow us to do is expand seating. March 15th, of course, all that's going to change as well to 250 or 50%, whichever is less. So when we're looking at our larger gyms, that's, you know, moving spectators 25 feet back eliminates 4 or 5 rows of bleachers in our larger gyms. 6 feet, now you're on the bottom row. So it's definitely going to expand the opportunity for seating. And working with all of our high schools, all of them already have plans in now. The plan for visiting spectators is now in place and we can activate that. So depending on the event, I mean, that's almost regular attendance for some of those events. Football, not so much. And we're hoping for some change in the guidance in outdoor seating. But right now, that goes across for all sporting events, indoor or outdoor. So, but yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very beneficial.
Thank you.
Good. Other questions? Okay.
That's my report.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Robinson.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the next item, item 3.01. Receipt, review, and possible approval of requests for purchase of retirement service credit for possible action. All of you on the board should be in possession of a document that has basically 3 groupings on there. I will tell you that I have put together these groupings to try to expedite and to make it a little easier to go through and look at and make determinations with regards to the buyout. First and foremost, I'm really surprised in the number of these. However, in our school district, the ages of our teachers and the teachers that have been with the district for 28 or 29 years worth of service is an amazing, it's amazing to me that we have the dedication of our staff and support staff as well as certified staff. And it's something as I've been looking over this for a number of days. And one of the things that I found to be interesting, if we take a look at the number of years of teaching that each one of the individuals in this list have put in, it equates to about 850 years of teaching experience. And that number, if you just think about that for a little bit, that is amazing that we in Elko County School District had that opportunity to have enjoyed those people working for the district for that length of time. With that being said, I guess there's a multitude of ways to approach this.
Chair Cooney, before you go on, can I make a disclosure
Okay,
before we go any further on this?
okay,
In 2018, I spoke with the assistant to the Attorney General just after I got elected about having my wife as an officer of the association. And he had recommended some things, and then we received just shortly after that from district council, a letter that indicated what I could and could not deliberate and vote on. And this is one of those issues. And so I'd like to read that statement before we
Okay.
continue.
Yes.
Disclosure statement for the public. In consultation with ECSD legal counsel, it was determined that I should abstain from deliberation and voting on this agenda item since my wife is on the list. I'll just sit here and listen.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Zeisman. As I said, there is a multitude of ways that we can approach this. And it has been approached in various ways from year to year. I remember 16 years ago, driving to Wendover and sitting, not where I'm at now, but sitting where several of you are sitting right there. And I was a recipient of a buyout 16 years ago. And so I know, I'm well aware of the feelings, the thoughts, the anxiety that's going on. So I'm going to quit talking about myself and let's talk about how we want to approach this. Would you, as a board, would you like to approach it by the categories or all at once?
Well, I have a few questions first.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for all these years of service, and I'm sad to see so many opt for this. And I know that there's several opinions on this, on how to approach it, and I have my personal thoughts on it. However, I would have one question, because I should have asked before when it was on your report, Dr. Robinson. What is our plan for replacement? I think that's the biggest issue that we should look at. And do we have something set in stone? Do we have something that we feel comfortable with? Because as much as I don't want to see so many teachers go, how do we stand if they do?
So now that's a great question. And if you will look under the superintendent's report.
Yeah, that's why I apologize for not bringing it up.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I could have brought it up too, so that's okay. I'm glad you brought it up now. You'll see the memorandum that we have in there from our HR office to our deputy superintendent, Mr. Smith. And it outlines for you all the recruiting activities that we're going to be doing, that we're signed up and prepared to do this year. Normally, these are things that you do in person, and like the STEM fair and so many other things, a lot of these are virtual. But nonetheless are very successful in meeting the objective to find talented and qualified educators. We have already posted positions, and we've received a fair amount of applications. I mean, we've got an impressive pool to look through, and administrators are already doing that for current openings as well as anticipated openings.
So we're fairly confident that we could have a fairly decent pool.
I feel confident that we're doing everything that we can do and everything that in the past has proven to be successful in filling those positions.
Because my concern is on one side, and so this is then I'll pass it on to somebody else. On one side, I feel if we approve it, we obviously lose a talented core in our district. However, if we don't, 50% might stay, 50% might leave, so we're still going to lose them. And the people who stay might be bitter to stay. I mean, it's always the same thing. If somebody wants to leave, they've already made that decision, sadly enough. So either we haven't done enough to keep them here initially, or it's too late. And then that kind of puts us on the negative to hiring new people, because it's almost disrespectful. It's like, oh, well, you don't want to appreciate what people have done for you in the past. Does that make sense? It's kind of a hard juggle. I mean, if somebody wants to quit, you force them to stay, you force their hand, and then you have the leadership issue. It's hard to have a leader if they want to leave, because they're the ones beating the drum. So as long as you say that we have a fairly decent pool going into this, I
think that's good for me.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Zeisler, I know you can't deliberate or vote, but how many teachers will Great Basin graduate this year that might stay in Elko County, we hope?
We had one of our largest student teaching classes last semester, 14 teachers altogether. I believe 4 secondary, and then the rest were elementary. And then this semester is a smaller group, but it's interesting that you asked that because and just for the public, they should know I do work at GBC in the capacity of secondary education program supervisor. And so we were interviewing our program candidates today, and we had about 14 there, and each of them, and it's odd to hear it, but a lot of them are asking, as we go through practicum and come up on student teaching, will we have the opportunity to long-term sub? And it's a real concern of theirs just because of income coming in with young families, and some of them have really great paying jobs right now, but want to go into teaching. So the program is picking up. We're seeing a lot more numbers, and I know we'll continue to work to get more.
Thank you.
Okay, Candace?
I have a couple of questions. Number one, what is the reasoning in the breakout of the 3 groups?
Right now, the 3 groups that we're looking at, it's a request, the number of people and the names of the people who have requested less than 2 years purchase, and those that have requested 2 years. The top group is supposed to be 1 year or less than 2, and the second group is 2 requested 2. And the third group is what used to be everything else that fit into the old category, and that there may be questions of whether they would receive full retirement benefits or not, utilizing the information from the PERS system. So they're classified with regards to the number of years that they're requesting in this purchase.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to say, I think it's so commendable that we do have so many teachers that have stuck in there for the long haul, and have a lot of years in teaching. I am very concerned because this is a huge list. And my concern is that granting all of these buyouts would leave us very shorthanded of not only teachers, because I don't know about the confidence level. I know Dr. Robinson sounds pretty confident. I'm not sure I'm that confident that we can fill these positions. And we're also losing those people who have experience. And so I'm also concerned if we lose all of these experienced people and bring in all inexperienced people, how that's going to play out for our students. My question here is, we've had numerous teachers retire already. I think somewhere to the tune of 30, is that correct? Somewhere close to that?
I think it's a little more than that.
A little more than that. We have this huge list here of teachers that want to retire, and we have 57, is it, unfilled positions?
67 last time, I think.
67 or 50, anyway.
59.
59. Okay, so now we are adding up to a lot of open positions. And my concern here is, are we going to have teachers for these kids to actually go to school with come fall? Because recruiting has been an issue. It's been a huge issue. And I know you guys are burned out. It's been a tough year. It's been a really tough year for everybody. But looking on the other side of it too, we have to have teachers. I mean, I'm hoping that some would stay anyway, just so that we have teachers for these kids to come back to in the fall. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm actually glad to see that it's been split into 3 different sections instead of the 2 that we started with. So those are my comments and concerns. I'm very, very concerned about having so many openings to fill.
I also struggled with the same, same thing as how many, you sound confident that we're gonna, be able to fill a lot of these positions.
I just want to say one thing. I'm confident that we're doing everything that we possibly can to fill those positions. There's no way to predict our success because in fulfilling, even if we had a typical year in openings, as Ms. Wines stated, it's a challenge in the rural areas, and it certainly has been for Elko. So, I say I'm very confident in the activities we've been doing and the work that we're doing in preparation of it, because we started early so that we weren't, left behind, even with the amount of openings we have now, but realistic in understanding the challenges that come with it.
And it's gonna be a tougher year as you can't go out and shake hands and meet people, most of it's virtual, right? So I'm struggling big time with this, my first time doing this too, so it's gonna be tough to lose that many teachers and fill all the positions. We've had conversations with administrators that are already 20 people short in schools, and to add on to it's gonna be my feelings. Be tough.
I'm of the same opinion that this is going to leave a big hole in our workforce, and it's been a tough year. It's been tough on everybody, but there's a lot of unknowns still coming budget wise, and this, on paper it saves us money, but to jump out there and spend that much money up front when nobody knows where our budget's going to go with what's going on in the legislature, and it just, that being said, this is probably one of the toughest votes we make all year, and it definitely puts more people show up to this meeting than any other meeting, because this is a big deal to everybody, and I completely understand the importance of this, but I'm afraid it would leave us shorthanded, and we've got to have teachers to teach kids.
I had a couple of questions as far as the administrative positions that are, listed in here, because these aren't all teachers. Some of these are also administrative positions. What are we going to do as far as, are there some of those that will not be replaced? Are there some of those that will be replaced in a different way? Whether it's central office or, at a different school? Can you go through that a little bit?
Well, I can tell you in one of the situations, we're looking at the possibility of reorganizing. So it may have a more, a less of a burden financial impact, depending on that, that's just in preliminary discussions, and, we really have to get in there and see, what the outcome of tonight is, quite frankly. And then there's always, we're looking at all of the operations, whether it be in schools, whether it be in central office, of reorganizing and moving around so that we've got the right people and shoring up the work that needs to be done in the schools and whatnot. We did a staffing allocation and saw some places where we can find efficiencies as far as the administrative staff goes. So, all of it will depend on, again, what the outcome of this and what the outcome just at the end of the year, whether this is addressed or not.
Thank you. And then as far as just kind of going back to the long-term sub, how many long-term subs do we have in the district at the moment?
Don't know the answer to that. Do you? And then Mr. Smith can look that up.
Maybe I'll have to look through here and add them up, but I can tell you in a minute.
And I'm just wondering how many of those long-term subs are on track to, graduate and be ready to teach full-time if we've already got them working in the district and we can depend on, moving some of those long-term subs into, being certified teachers and already being part of our system, basically. I look out here and I know personally almost everybody in the room, not quite everyone. And I know this is an incredibly hard decision to make when you put your name on this list. I know you have put in years and countless hours of service to our students. And all I can say is thank you. And I wish our government would fully fund education so we could just say, absolutely, this is, you have done everything all these years and this is a big thank you. This has been a challenging thing to look through this list. And first of all, my heart aches to see many of you go, whether you get a buyout or not. I know some of you are, potentially going to just call it done because you've put in all this time. And you need to be commended for that. You've put in so much effort to make Elko County School District a better district because of your efforts and your talents. And I appreciate that. That being said, I'm not ready to make a motion. I don't know if anybody else is.
The chair would entertain a motion. And then discussion will continue, obviously, after that, but what's the pleasure of this body?
What's the projection for next year student-wise physicals attendance?
We don't know. And
don't
so what we have done is taken a 5-year look and found an average in that.
So for
5
example,
years.
yesterday, how much, what was the percentage of kids who came back to school versus who decided to elect to stay at home and virtually?
We had in some schools, we had a very positive response to coming back in full time. And in some schools, we still have a significant number that have opted to remain full distance learning. So that's why it's difficult to predict what we think is going to happen next year, because we also have to remember that we had a large number of students that went into homeschooling. And so, some have come back, but some may want to finish out the year and then look to come back next year. I mean, it's really difficult. That's why we thought it best to take a 5-year average over the past 5 years and find that spot in the middle and plan based on that.
I'm not making a motion, but I just wanted to clarify that the board could separate this out, correct?
Yes.
Like we could just determine that just that top third of the tier or the second or however we want to do it, but it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can actually be one section of it if that is something the board
Yes, and
would entertain to do.
yes, that is the purpose and that's the reasoning that I had. I went through and I'd looked at a number of different ways, probably 6 or 7 different ways, and I didn't like any of the ways. And so what you have before you is the final version of a lot of torment and looking at the folks that we have in our district and to do what's, justifiable with them. So with that, and when I asked the question about how would we like to proceed, if we want to take them in each one of the 3 groups and just go through, handle a motion with that, in that particular instance, Mr. Zeisler would be able to vote on the 2 groups that Mrs. Zeisler is not in.
We're sure about that?
Yes,
Is that I'm trying to bite my tongue because then I would get to deliberate on that, right?
Well,
That's the thing. I don't want to screw up the plan here because
You have a plan?
Well, I-
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
it's just we have a very green board. That's all I'll say.
yes,
Well,
But-
I'll make a motion just so we can make this easier and not deal with that. I move to approve the top 2 sections for buyout.
okay, it's been moved to consider the top 2 categories for buyout. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Luke. Now, is there discussion? Maker of the motion?
Well, I just think we ought to get things moving. And so a motion is now on the floor and we can discuss and go from there.
There we go.
I would say, I think I could support it more if it was just the top tier and not the top 2 tiers. Simply because of the amount of teachers we would be losing.
I'd agree with that.
Well, the top tier, how many teachers do we have exactly on the top tier?
There's 11,
11.
if I counted right.
They're not all teachers.
No, they're not all
They're
teachers.
not all,
Yeah.
yeah, they're not
Just
all
11
teachers,
people in the
but,
group.
but they also all have, 2 years or less.
Mhm.
Of the buyout amount.
Okay,
So I guess I would move
would you
to
look to
amend,
move to amend?
I would move to amend the motion to be the top tier only, the top 11.
Is there a second for the amendment?
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, moved by Candace, seconded by Robert to amend the motion to consider the top group. Is there discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of amending the motion to consider the top group signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay. The chair will, I believe, the chair needs a more exact way of counting the votes. So
Do a raise of hands.
yes, we'll raise our hands. So all those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hands. Thank you. Those opposed? The chair votes aye and the amendment is passed. So now we go to the main motion as amended, which ends up being to consider the top 11, I think you said. All right. Is there any discussion? Any more discussion?
We know, is Rob on the phone? I don't want to, since my wife's not in that group, but I don't want to. What I worry about is what I'm going to say is going to sway because I'm very objective. I'm the guy in past board meetings that looks at these very objectively and looks at the savings to the district. So I don't want to, because we're considering that group, sway it for my wife on the other group. So that's, Rob is sometimes on, but I don't know.
Rob has said that he would be on.
Should we take a recess to make sure we're,
If that, I believe. Okay, yes. We're going to take a 5-minute recess. All right.
should we step out?
Yeah. 5 minutes. Have
I'm
everything?
still gonna stick to my
Okay,
disclosure
You're-
statement. Yeah, silent.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Zeisler. All right. Now, I believe we were in the discussion mode before we're ready to vote. So during that period of time, do we have any other discussion items that you want to bring forth as board members? All right.
Mr. Chairman, are you gonna take public comment?
I had not planned on it, but Mr. Hoffman?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Lee Hoffman, resident, taxpayer, citizen of Elko. I have a comment from a perspective both as my years on the city council and as a taxpayer. Now, when I was on the city council, we would occasionally have people come to us with a request for buying years of service as you're dealing with here. It was never as many as this at a time. It was always one or two. It was always brought to us under the auspices of saving money for the city. What I notice in your list is that in each of those groups, there are some individuals who are going to cost the school district significant money for this buyout over even this number of years. Always as a member of working in the private sector, this is an issue unique to government. When you work in the private sector and you have a retirement program, you can retire early sometimes with penalties, but you didn't go to your bosses and say, buy me 2 more years. And it is unique to government service. And some of this is going to cost taxpayers money. Seems like a much more objective approach to this would be to approve those buyouts that save you money over your 3 or 4 year period instead of simply by the number of years of service. So that's my thought. That would save the school district funding. It's a very objective approach. And anyway, that's my thought. Thank you.
Thank you. And the Mesmers, would you like to speak? Okay.
No, I'm Becky Mesmer.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm Becky Mesmer, and I just noticed that my husband and I have been put into 2 separate groups. And so I would like to see if there would be any way that I could be moved into the second tier. We've worked together for 28 years in Jackpot. And I feel like if we're going to, if a buyout is going to happen, that it would be best for both of us to be bought at the same time and not maybe one of us go and one of us stay.
Okay.
And I'd like to address just a different issue. The thinking is just a little flawed from my perspective as far as so many people leaving and trying to replace them. We're at a bubble where we hired about 100 people a year for 5 years, I believe, back about 28 to 33 years ago. And so if you push these people out next year, you'll probably have 50 people you need to hire. And if you push it out 2 more years, you're going to have 75 people you need to hire to replace these. My thought process as somebody that hires is try to pick up some good candidates along the way to replace these people rather than trying to find 75 good ones in 3 years, because that's not going to happen. So that's my 2 cents on the whole thing.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment? Bring it back to the board.
We aren't gonna run into any issues legally, like the way it's separated, like if we approve this one or don't approve that one or anything like that, right?
I don't believe so. Is the board prepared to vote? All right, the motion is to approve the top 11.
I would move to amend that to. move
Yeah, to
Rebecca
regroup them.
Messmer
Messners.
into Group B like she requested. That's correct?
To move
Rebecca Messmer
Rebecca
into that second group.
into the second group.
We have a question.
It's not deliberation, just information. If it's okay. I think we better be careful about calling them Group B
Yeah,
discussions, just because I mean, this is all very public, so.
Into the middle group.
I second the amendment.
okay. We have another amendment to move Rebecca into the middle group with the request that has been made. Is there any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. Chair votes aye, and that amendment passes. So now we are back to the main motion, and we have taken Ms. Mesner and moved to the middle classification. All right, so we're voting on the top group. All those in favor of purchasing years of service to that particular group, raise your hand. Those opposed? The chair votes aye, but the motion is failed. All right.
Can, is Jerry available to actually walk through this and tell us exactly how much,
She is not.
No, she's not. Okay. Is there another motion that with motion failed on the top group? Is there a motion for the second group? The middle group?
I think, Mr. Cooney, perhaps we need some clarification, I think is the question that's being asked on, because this chart does confuse me somewhat as to what the savings are here. What is being shown as savings? You know, what's not savings? I mean, to me, it's the last two columns. Is that correct? That the estimated savings with replacement up to 4 years, and then you have the total cost to purchase a service credit.
Yes.
And so then your actual savings is going to be the difference between those two numbers. Is that correct? Over 4 years?
Yes, and down at the bottom, if you go down to the double line that goes across, you'll see total savings for that, and then what the cost is. So you should have the two numbers right there. On this right here. Those two.
But it would be if it's only the top,
Yes.
right?
I believe that last column where it says estimated savings, that includes the cost of in that first year. And that is
Yes.
the ultimate savings that you see in that blue column in the bold.
Okay. All right, well. It's back to the board for a motion.
I'm gonna make a motion. It's probably not gonna hold water, but I'd like to approve the first two groups.
Second.
All right, there's a motion by Luke, seconded by Teresa to consider the first two groups. Is there any discussion? Makers of the motion. Maker of the motion.
Do I have a discussion? No, I just want to approve it.
Okay, all right. Any other discussion? We'll put that out. All right. For the board, all those in favor of the motion to purchase the first two groups, signify by raising your hand. Those opposed? Chair votes aye, and the motion passes.
I think it was a tie vote.
Four, it is. We'll vote again. I'm sorry. All those in favor of the motion to purchase the two groups?
Aye.
Aye. An aye. Those opposed? It's a tie vote and it's a lost vote, so the motion fails. All right,
I abstain for the record.
okay,
Making that perfectly.
thank you. At that point, is there,
So is there a discussion of why we're opposing? In the sense that I do agree with what was brought in public comment that we're just pushing it back. So we're not going to find a solution. Next year, we're going to have the same problem, even if we have these people. And in 2 years, if we push it back again, we're still going to have the same
Yes.
problem. Obviously, it's going to be an issue next fall, sorry, when we reopen, if we have an influx of children in our schools and we don't have enough teachers. We have to, at some point, looking back, hope that the dots connect, because moving forward, we can never see it, but sadly, Brian can't be a tiebreaker at this point.
I got a lot of good information, but I can't share it, so.
It is a huge,
All right.
it is a
But
huge list.
I'm the jerk, so,
No.
I mean, that's the thing.
no,
I'm not-
Brian,
My wife is okay with
Brian?
not getting bought out, so,
please, let's
Okay.
just,
sorry, yes.
I think, Mr. Gerber, too, you do need to take into account the other public comment about the amount of taxpayer money being spent. And that is a valid concern. As you can see here, I mean, truly over the 4 years, it's still, there's not a huge,
There's not a huge savings. No, you're looking at, if I understand this
Right.
chart correct, that's actually very complicated. But if I understand the chart, the top group, you're saving about approximately 300,000, top bottom group saving about less than about 150 something, give or take.
and that's over 4 years.
It's over 4 years. So we're really not looking at any cost savings per se.
Right.
Isn't that $2 million?
Only if,
Over 4 years?
Only if all, the whole
It's
sheet.
the whole sheet, but it's not 2 million. It's actually 16 minus the 2 million. So it's actually 400,000 if the whole list is bought out.
Yeah, $2 million if the whole list is bought out over 4 years, right? Is that correct?
No, because there's a purchase
Over
price
the
of
4 years.
1.6 million. So you're looking at about 400,000.
The difference between those
Difference
two.
between the two columns is the actual savings.
No, the actual savings, as I said, is in that blue column.
It's in the,
In
okay.
the- in the
Savings
blue,
is
yeah.
Okay.
$2,014,000. That's a lot of paper at my school. I'm serious.
No.
We scrimp.
Okay, just one at a time here.
No, so we scrimp and try to get by, and if we can save $2 million tonight over 4 years by buying these people out, it's negligent if you don't. You're wasting taxpayer money. Sorry, you're not saving taxpayer money. You're wasting it. You're wasting $2 million worth. That's the bottom line.
Okay.
But it's, just to be clear that I'm understanding this chart, it's costing the school district 1.619 million to purchase the service credits, correct? So wouldn't you have to subtract that from the amount of the savings?
It's already been done. So it's $2 million saving. Correct? The blue is the saving.
But my understanding is the blue is the savings from the amount of money we will save by replacing older positions. Do you have insight on this, please?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, let's hear it, Leslie.
In your yellow column, that includes your first year salary replacement plus the cost of the buyout for whatever that person's buyout information is. So your total expense for that person's buyout is all contained in column 1. The purple, the pink, and the blue, your savings happens in all 3 of those years if there is a savings, because your realization of spent dollars to purchase the service credit is happening in year 1. So reflected in that sheet, your true savings for everybody for those 4 years is just the total at the bottom of the blue column.
Okay, that's why I think the last.
There's
column is the-
formulas in that spreadsheet all the way across to create the numbers that are there, giving you your savings in that, or your expense in that first year.
Thank you.
Part of this list, like the 4-year, it says estimated savings. It's estimated. There's no way to track these positions. I mean, the first year is going to be accurate. The second year is going to be relatively accurate, but beyond that, these positions could go a number of different directions, and that's just an estimated number. It could be higher, it could be lower than that.
Okay. Well, we're back without a motion on the floor. So are we going to leave this? We've tried 2 different votes. Basically, both of them have failed.
well, I will make a motion kind of piggybacking off of what Iris said, and I'm just going to throw this out here. I move that we approve the top 2 groups with the exception, we will, since Iris says he figures the after 2 years, you're just estimating, anyone who does not save the district money after the 2 years.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. The motion, if I got it right, to look in the second year column.
So anyone who does not save the district money after the 2 years, so.
After,
In
so
the purple.
going to the
In the purple column.
purple column,
Light blue.
like blue, yeah, that's what. Okay,
So I guess you would look at the 3-year column, because Ira was saying the 2 year seems valid, but the 3rd year and 4th year is kind of an estimate. So I would say you'd look at the lilac column.
How many colors are we throwing out here?
lilac, huh? Okay, so. You're calling this lilac, huh?
Well, on your paper, it looks pink.
Okay.
On my screen,
that's
it
what-
looks.
All right, so the ones that would come out of there would be, as I see, the ones in parentheses.
Well, in that case, just do all three. Well,
Are you seeing?
Go ahead.
it would just be 2 people coming out of the first 2 groups if we did that on the 3rd-year basis.
Right, ones that are still showing. That's a deficit number. Okay? Is there any discussion?
I'm still gonna stick with. Might have a hard time filling these positions. I know there's savings here, but it won't matter if there's nobody in the classroom.
Okay,
Well, and to answer Mr. Mesmer's question about pushing it out, we've had an unprecedented year. And I feel like if things get back to normal come fall and we can be recruiting more teachers, that perhaps we'll be able to start filling those positions. We already have, we're already minus 59 positions without anybody retiring. Well, more than that, actually, but I would like to have a little cushion here just to try to fill some of the positions we have open right now.
okay, other discussion? All right, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the motion? Raise your hand. Those opposed? Tie vote. We're not getting anywhere right now. And so as it stands, we've made 3 different attempts at this. I don't believe that we're gonna accomplish anything. Not now, no. All right. I'm sorry for
Can I ask a
for
question?
the vote.
Is this something that can be revisited? No. It has to-
No,
Okay.
no,
I didn't know in the
it's not.
contract.
As it stands right now, none of the buyouts will be granted. So, thank you. We're moving on to the next item, which is receive a presentation and possible discussion of a request from District Attorney Tyler Ingram for possible actions. District Attorney Ingram, welcome to the board.
Thank you. Just expect not many people want to hear me, so. Thank you all. I am the DA of Elko County. I'm here tonight, I guess, to request a letter of support from this board in our application to the Pennington Foundation to build a child advocacy center here in Elko. And I'm sure a lot of you know what that is, but if you would allow me just a few minutes, I'll explain to you what that does. Sort of the best way to describe it is to tell you where we used to be with child physical and sexual abuse cases. It used to be where a child would disclose sexual abuse or physical abuse to most commonly a teacher or a counselor at a school. And as a mandatory reporter, that counselor or teacher would report that abuse to law enforcement. Law enforcement would then interview the child, and that will have been at least the second time that child has disclosed an extremely uncomfortable topic to at least one stranger, but probably two. And then that case is investigated. The child still remains in the home most of the time with the perpetrator, and then it gets forwarded to a DA's office, no matter if it's mine or somebody else's. And then we make a charging decision. That victim is once again probably interviewed by a deputy DA or myself to prepare for court. That's now the third time that victim has told their story. Then if we choose to go forward with prosecution, we go to a preliminary hearing, and that child is once again brought into a courtroom, this time in front of undoubtedly more strangers, and again tells a horrific story of what happened to them. And then if we get to a jury trial, then they're sitting down in front of a jury who they probably do not know and telling their story yet again. And then that person would leave the courtroom, whether it was guilty or not guilty, with no services whatsoever. They would just leave, and that person and their family would be left to their own devices to find help for the child if the child needed it, and almost always they do. Then we developed a multidisciplinary team of which I'm a part, which my office is a part. And now we respond to these cases in a much different way. Now we have an entire team of people who respond, including prosecutors, law enforcement, medical personnel, social services, and counselors. And we try to conduct one interview of the child for everybody. And that obviously expedites this process, but also prevents the child from going through any more horrific events. And so that team responds. In a perfect world, which is where I'm trying to get Elko County, is where Elko County deserves to be, is that we have a child advocacy center. And this is what I've always described when I've talked to boards like yourselves as a one-stop shop for children and their families. So this center would include, once we have a disclosure of abuse in whatever form to a teacher, counselor, whatever, this child will be brought to the advocacy center. And at that one location, the child would receive their medical examination and recommendations for follow-up care if they have medical issues that need to be addressed. They would also receive their forensic interview. This is a specialized interview that occurs in a specialized room that's captured by audio and video equipment. It's a warm room where children feel as welcome as you possibly can be when you're talking about something like that. And it's a different kind of room conducted by sometimes a law enforcement officer, sometimes not, but they're always a trained child forensic interviewer, which requires a special certification and process to learn how to do. And this is not sitting in a cold steel room with a metal table and interrogating some suspect. It's much different than that. And then that child would also receive all the other services that they require right there. It's mental health counseling, victim advocacy work, anything like that. When they leave that facility, they should have everything that they need to get on the road to normalcy, as normal as things can be. These type of things happen all over the country. Sadly, Elko County and most of rural Nevada is extremely behind the times, and then that's unacceptable for me. And we need to get there. So I'll say but I have a team of people who are working on this. I've just been the one that goes and does all this talking. And if this sounds like a canned speech, it's probably because it almost is at this point. I've had to go in front of so many people asking for their support. So in doing this, I've been in talks with the Pennington Foundation for over a year. And the Pennington Foundation is very supportive of our project, but it'll hinge on a final vote by their board of trustees. To even get my application to be considered, I've had to jump through an enormous amount of hoops. One of those was that we had to agree, our county commission had to agree that this child advocacy center be organized under my office. They agreed to that. The land that the child advocacy center would be built on had to be owned by the county. And the purpose of this is so that the Pennington Foundation ensures that the millions of dollars that they may give us is going to be put to use for a long period of time, not just short term and then it fades away, because counties are more viable than nonprofit entities most of the time. We've done that. Then I went to the city council, Elko City Council, and I asked if they would donate the parcel of land that the old police department used to sit on. And today, before I came to this meeting, I was at the city council meeting where they formally approved the actual conveyance document to give us that land. So That is going to go into escrow here shortly, and we will have that piece of property to build this center on. Finally, I have been in contact with an local architect who has agreed to be part of our design team. She has already begun the work. It's Catherine Wines. And just Saturday through today, I was able to secure donations from Eric Latin and Black Dolphin Engineering for all the structural and civil engineering, which is, I can't even express my gratitude for that. That's an amazing amount of money. Apex is going to do the surveying for us free of charge. And then Jay Elquist is going to donate all of the electrical engineering. So it brought our design costs down to somewhere around $40,000 from $100 to $6,000. So a huge savings. We're going to be asking for a building that's approximately 7,000 to 10,000 square feet and roughly $3 to $4 million to build. All I'm asking for from you is not millions of dollars, but a letter of support addressed to the Pennington Foundation, telling the Pennington Foundation how much you all think this is needed in our community. If you want, and I'm almost done, I promise you. If you want some background information as to why this is important for our community, about a month ago, when I first appeared in front of the city council to ask for the land to be donated, we ran our numbers on child sexual and physical abuse cases. In Elko County alone, my office is currently prosecuting 87 active cases. That's phenomenal for a community our size. That includes everything from sexual assault of a very small child to child pornography. It's insane. And so what this center is actually going to be designed to do is service children from Eureka County, White Pine County, Lander County, and Elko County. Eureka County has already ponied up $100,000 towards our project. So we're well on our way to making this happen. So again, just asking for a letter of support. However, if you ever come up with any ideas on how to get us some money from the school board, we'll always take it.
Mr. President, I move to provide a letter of support.
Second.
All right. Been moved and seconded to write a letter of support. Any other discussion?
Just had a question, Tyler.
Yes.
Would CASA be housed in this facility then and work with you, or are they a completely different entity from this?
Completely different entity, would not likely not be housed with us, but always working with us if they choose to.
Excellent. Thank
There's
you.
an accreditation process for child advocacy centers. This is not just something that's made up. You have to be accredited. And we're on our way to be accredited now without even having a facility. So there's so many rules to follow, but we work with DCFS, CASA. We work with all the law enforcement agencies. I mean, there's tons of people involved.
Good job.
Okay,
I
yeah,
want to
it's
say I really
great.
commend you for doing this for the community.
Thank you.
All right,
I'm quickly losing hair.
all right. All those in favor of submitting the letter? Oh, Ira?
Do I need to abstain from the vote?
Yes.
Most of us are related to somebody in your group, but I'm close to related to anybody, so I'll abstain.
Okay.
Related to Catherine.
Catherine's my little sister.
I can tell you that's fully being paid for by donations, so I don't know what interest there is, but
Okay.
I understand. I'm not your lawyer.
I don't want to
All
mess
right.
this up for you. So.
Yes. So all those in favor of submitting a letter in support of this to the Pennington Foundations, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Chair votes aye, and let the record show that Mr. Wines abstained.
I spoke
Okay.
to Rob Sire a couple of days ago, and he agreed to write the letter on your behalf if you all choose to.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I
Appreciate it.
Thank
Tyler.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to item 3.03, review, receipt, and possible approval of 2020 and 2021 incentive grants for possible action.
I move to approve the 2020, 2021 incentive grants.
Second.
I will, Cassie in the back, we have one of the grants, the one from Grammar that Cassandra.
So the grammar application is a mistake. It was dragged in the folder, so that one should not be looked at. And then the only thing that I also want you to consider is with the Elko High School, the wrestling team mats that they want to put up.
Yes.
This can only be approved if the project's completed by the end of the state fiscal year. So, and as of now, when I talked to the coach, he thought that the work would have to be done over summer, so.
So are they going to pull their grant application?
No, it's still in here, but they're working right now to see if they can get it done beforehand. So that.
And I mean, if we approve it and it doesn't get completed, then it
If it
just,
doesn't get done, then that's it, then
They don't
we're
get
not gonna,
that's not a big deal if it.
no.
Okay. All right, so we're looking at the EHS wrestling, the Mountain View, the Owyhee, and the Wells incentive grants. Is that correct, Cassandra? Okay,
I have one question on the wells, because that's a huge project. And so do they already have those additional funds raised?
So I was in discussion with Ashley and what they're requesting $3,000. So far in their account, they already have $12,000 and they've started a readathon fundraiser and they're up to $1,500 and they typically raise $4,000. So she doesn't see an issue with that. And she's also contacted the vendor. And if we're able to get them the PO this month, the equipment will be received by the end of May.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
okay. Any other questions? All right, all those in favor of approving the incentive grants signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, and the incentive grants are approved. Moving on to agenda item 3.04, receipt, review, and possible approval of policy EFDD, public records for possible action.
Move to approve.
All right, it's been moved to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Luke. Discussion? I think we had several FOIA requests or could potentially have that. And so this was just cleaning that up. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, and the policy is approved. Moving on, item 3.05, receive a request for permission to go out to bid for annual asphalt maintenance contract or possible action.
So moved.
All right,
Second.
moved by Luke, seconded by Teresa. Brian, I'm sorry. All right. Any discussion, any questions? That's easy. All right, all those in favor of going out to bid for the asphalt signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Chair votes aye. Motion is approved. We'll go to item 3.06, receive a request for permission to go out to bid for the Elko High School Junior Building Remodel Project. That's the science labs.
The old science labs, correct.
Okay,
You probably said it before, Casey. What will those classrooms become then? Just general classrooms for?
Actually, we're going to convert those to administrative offices.
Oh, okay.
And free up the existing principal, vice principals, and turn those back into classrooms.
Gotcha.
okay,
You said that would result in 8 to 10 additional classrooms with that change?
okay.
Is there a reason, I mean, does that just work out better because of where the old science classrooms were located?
That's the way they were big rooms, so we can divide them up into smaller offices really easy. And it's also a way to get all the administrative people back together. They're kind of scattered all over campus right now. They want to get closer to each other.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and I apologize as chair. Was there a motion? Okay, okay. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to go out.
Is there a motion to go out to bid for the Elko Junior High, Elko Juniors?
So moved.
Robert.
Okay, yeah, Robert, we got you. Robert moved, Brian seconded. All right. Any other discussion? Any questions for Mr. Kelly? All those in favor of approving the request to go out to bid, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, and we go out to bid for that project. 3.07, receive a request for permission to go out to bid for the West Wendover High School Welding Shop Ventilation Project for possible action.
Move to approve.
All right, been moved by Teresa, seconded by Brian to go out to bid for the West Wendover High School Welding Shop Ventilation Project. Any discussion?
Just for everybody's edification, I guess, this project has been moved up, is that correct? Because there was a health and safety.
Correct.
Yes.
Health and safety
Issue.
with the ventilation.
All right. Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Chair votes aye and the motion passes. All right, item 3.08, receipt, review, and possible approval of the 2021-22 and the 22-23 school calendars. And as you notice, there are 4 calendars, 2 for the 5-day and also 2 for the 4-day schools. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, moved by Candace, seconded by Ira to approve. Is there any discussion?
I was just gonna ask, is there any significant difference? I didn't look in any detail on those. I assume they're usually the votes go one way for one calendar. No, just, I mean, is it status?
Oh, as far as like.
I've been out of the district for a
looks-
while, so I was just
It looks
wondering.
about the same.
It's about the
It's pretty much the same.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
All right. Any more discussion? Questions? All those in favor of approving the calendars for the next couple of years signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, and the motion carries. Item 4.01, the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, moved by Ira, seconded by Luke, to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion?
Just sad to see one of my good colleagues and friends retiring after 30 years, Mr. Wintermount.
All right,
Fellow biology teacher.
all right. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, and the consent agenda is approved. A report from our NASB director for possible action. Mr. Wines.
Things are moving pretty fast and it changes every day. The SB 111, the bill for appointed school boards, that was, it's in committee right now.
Does that still have the 100,000 population
No, they can't do that.
because of the state constitution?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's good for one district, it's good for all, is what the Constitution says. There's some other bills that there's one that SB 120, which makes principals at will employees for 3 years. NASB is just monitoring that. That usually fails. It usually doesn't gain much traction, is what Jessica said. There's AB 88, if anybody's aware what that is. I think I'm the only one that opposed it. It's to make the school boards and government agencies change the names of things that might be derogatory, but it's not funded. So I read an article this morning, it'll cost UNLV $11 million to change their name. And seems like the legislature's good at that, unfunded mandates, so. But everybody is kind of, everybody else in NASB is supporting it. I think everybody's scared to oppose it. And the school trust lands bill was just introduced into committee.
And that one is SJR
What is that?
8, Senate Joint Resolution.
Yep. Yep.
SJR 4.
4. Yep.
4. SJR 8 is a transgender equality bill. So it's SJR 4.
So about to heat up, I think. Some of these are bills will start coming out of committee and
If we can, is there any bills that we need to really be tracking or looking at? I know that Candace and I have been on the weekly conference call with Senator Gokachia and Assemblyman Ellison on
the
Thursdays.
email I got from Deb, that it was a kind of a recap from Jessica and Corrado, that that's about all of them that they had highlighted.
Okay. I think there was another bill, SB 151, but it only impacts, it has an impact on Clark and Washoe, and it doesn't impact the other school districts. As I was going down through, there was some things in that particular bill, but it won't impact us.
There's the SB 83 to pause the standardized testing if the U.S. Department of Education provides a waiver.
And they did.
And
In that bill, though, the testing would still happen, right? It just wouldn't, it wouldn't be like official.
Yeah,
Is that the way that
it
works?
says a pause in the testing.
okay.
Right, and there would be a pause in the ranking of the schools. There's still the testing, which would allow for schools to get baseline data of where their students are, but it's not reporting. There's no reporting of it. And there is, again, as I said, it wouldn't have an influence on the changing of the rankings for schools.
And AB 57 is another one NASB supporting. That's the temporarily suspend some requirements relating to evaluations. Washoe County introduced that.
You know, that had to do with the student what?
SLGs.
Yeah,
Student learning goals.
yeah, student learning
Yep.
goals, SLGs. They call it in Washoe County SLOs, so objecting. So
That's it. What I
okay.
have.
Okay. Any other items from board members?
Yeah, I just wanted to tell everybody that I took a really great tour of Wendover last week. And it was a really fun tour. I especially enjoyed, they had students from their city or their student council take me on a tour of the high school. They were a lot of fun, and they were all in the midst of doing their elections for next year. And so that was fun. And but some of the things that I learned about Wendover that I didn't know is that they had an accreditation done, and West Wendover High School actually scored 34 points above the national and international average. So I thought that was super commendable for the West Wendover High School. The other thing I noticed while touring all the schools is what a sense of community they have there. I was very impressed by that. And they have really great sense of pride in their school. And part of their, what they say and their motto is that Wolverines are the best. And, they have a wall that has like the wall of fame. So it's actually achievements by students, and the other students can see that and, try to aspire to be on the wall of fame, things like that. And so I was very, very impressed by that. And the other thing then was that I got roped into being interviewed in their new platform. And it's really amazing. They have this wonderful equipment. They have like the blank backdrop where you get interviewed and then they can put a backdrop in. And so I was kind of put on the spot. It was really fun. And if I would really encourage everyone on the board and everyone else to go watch, it's Lavaz Wolverines YouTube channel. And they have used that in such a way that they are really communicating with their community. I've been listening to a lot of their YouTubes, and they do things like go out and let everyone know that, school was going to start full time on March 8th. They've used it in the virtual format to have their student council candidates give their speeches, and they're just reaching, a large audience by using this platform. So it's very interesting. I would encourage everyone to go watch it. I will say in the aspect of what we were talking about earlier, that they do have a difficult time recruiting teachers in that area. And we all know that especially the rural areas have a difficult time. However, the elementary school was making great strides in getting, they have long-term subs from the community who are interested in, getting their teacher accreditation and working with Great Basin College to do that. And so they are recruiting from right there in their community, which means they'll get that longevity of teachers because they're tied to the community. And so they are making great strides there. So that's my report. I had a great time. It was a wonderful day.
Yeah, I'd encourage all board members to get out and take a look at what's going on out there in the schools. And it's exciting. We've had a crazy year, to say the least. And it's invigorating to get into those classrooms and see the work that the teachers are doing. So I have a couple of items that just information for the board. First of all, we do have the evaluations of the superintendent coming up here in the very near future. And what I have asked Cassie to do is to either provide you, if you would rather have an electronic version of which will be a copy, I think, of what the actual last evaluation was that we had for Superintendent Pearson. And because of the year that we are in, as I look through the document, I found that there were a number of things that really are not that pertinent to what the performance has been for this year. So what I'm looking at doing is if we can provide that, would everyone like that electronically? Is that the best thing, or would you like a hard copy? We can get that, we'll get that out to you and have you go through and look at it. And if you have some things that you would like to see in this evaluation document, we can get that put together and then start the actual process of setting up our times to go through and have the evaluation and get that taken care of. So we'll try to get that out probably within the next 2 weeks, if that will work. All right. And then secondly, I didn't mark down and I left it in my other notebook, but I want to let the board know that we have tentatively scheduled a workshop to have Marty Johnson to go over a workshop with regards to what's going to be necessary to set up and to prepare to move towards a pay-as-you-go ballot question. And that, I wanted to say the 9th of May, or is it? We will let you know on that. I had the note written down here, but I wasn't able to find the actual.
Is it the same day as board meeting?
That would be the
Yes.
11th.
I believe
Yeah,
it was. It
the
was gonna be
11th.
prior to the board.
Okay.
The 11th, yes. When
Okay.
we
The
did
11th.
that, so. Mark your calendars on that and we should be good to go. Are there any other agenda items that board members would like? Brian?
I'm not sure if board members are aware, but we lost a pretty incredible person in a great light yesterday in Wendy Portray. She was a substitute teacher, friend, colleague, connected with students. If you're having a bad day, her smile would just light up your life, light up the room, light up the school. And it's with a heavy heart that I have to say condolences to the family because we're going to miss her a lot. And I
Right.
don't know if services have been.
Saturday.
Okay. All right.
All right, can I add a board member item?
Yes.
I've just heard a lot of really positive things about all the kids being back in school. The halls are really crowded and kids are feeling like it's really different, but I've heard a lot of really positive things and just want to commend the staff at Sage Elementary. They did what they call the fancy first day, and I wish I could have seen what every campus did. They rolled out a red carpet. They asked the kids to come dressed up in their best. My kids went in their suits, which was a lot of fun to send my kids off to elementary school in their suits. But it was great. They had the paparazzi there taking pictures and they had their staff lined up and they cheered for the students as they walked the red carpet. And it just set a great tone. They also did fancy placemats with special messages at lunchtime. And I just think the Sage staff did an amazing job of really getting those kids excited about everybody being back at school. So a great job to Sage Elementary. And again, I've heard a lot of really positive things from a lot of campuses and just great things going on. So excited to have the kids back in school full time and just looking forward to hearing more great news about the things going on as we continue the rest of the year.
I did see a lot of great pictures of the paparazzi that showed up on Facebook. My wife lets me look at it once in a while. I don't get on, that's for sure. Anyway.
I do want to say thank you to everybody that's made it possible for the kids to be back in school, starting, here at the office, down to the teachers and principals. I mean, everybody, transportation, it's good to see kids running around town and traffic in the morning. Not used to it again, but but it is good to see kids in school and playing sports. I mean, I don't know how many parents have said, thank you guys for letting them play sports. I mean,
Yeah.
So thank you.
Hopefully
guys.
we've got it going in the right direction. So, yep. All right. Moving on to item 6.01, approval of the accounts payable.
Move to approve. Second.
All right, it's been moved by Brian, seconded, was it Luke? All right. Are there any questions? Yes,
Just had one. I noticed there's a new designation and I'm assuming it's reimbursements, LOA, LO something in front of certain teachers and coaches. It just must, I mean, we asked for a little more information. I'm assuming it's a designation for some sort of reimbursement specifically.
Yeah, I'll get that information and I'll
Okay.
let the board know.
Yep.
Okay,
I don't have a question, but I will be disclosing that I have a family member whose employer is listed on the accounts payable, so I will be abstaining.
okay,
IO, is that what you mean?
ILO, thank you. Yes.
okay. All those in favor of approving the accounts payable signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, and let the record show there's one abstention. All right, moving on. Comments from the public, if any, non-action item. Mr. Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. I appreciate all of your patience, and this comes under the heading of admitting when you've made a mistake. I also misread that spreadsheet, so my comments didn't make the sense that I thought they did when I was talking about taking out individuals who didn't save money. I thought it was the difference between the two columns as other people did. So I apologize for wasting your time on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Stacy.
I'd like to apologize to my colleagues. I called my name after the second vote, so Mr. Zeiser will be able to vote. Saying that, I will call my name. Because then it will not be counted. And he's voted no the last 2 years, so it probably won't change anything. I do have an opportunity to vote.
Right, well, the issue has been voted on. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right.
Cassie.
Oh, Cassie. In lieu of,
ILO on the spreadsheet.
So that's a transportation deal for kids that are rural that have to
On the accounts payable.
like drive to
Oh,
school.
yes. Okay,
okay,
Yeah.
got you. Thank you.
all right. Moving on. Next item. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for participating, for sticking around. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Sounds good.